Welcome to the Beach House with Mo and Steph. Come on in, pour yourself a drink, and join us out on the deck as we inspire, encourage, and empower one another to live authentic, audacious, above only lives. It's all right here at the Beach House. Welcome to the Beach House with Mo and Steph. We are here on another episode to hang out, chill out on the deck, have some girl time,
Yes,
and we have another guest with us this week.
we do.
Oh,
Yay!
We
thanks for,
do.
thanks for having me.
Hello, this is Melanie
Melanie came by the
Breland.
beach. Melanie came by the beach to hang with us today.
She
I
did
did.
on this lovely Sunday
This day.
day. How
This
you doing? How you doing, Melanie?
I'm doing great, doing great. Coming live to you from sunny Southern California. It's a great beach
Where,
day.
where, 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 where?
Sunny Southern California.
I just wanted the people to know. It's okay.
right,
You hear
right.
that, Steph?
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it.
Come on back to
I
Jamaica.
heard it. I might have to come back because all the Californians are moving to Texas. So I figure once they get here, then I'll go back
I
there and
thought they were already there.
I'll have plenty of time to myself.
Oh, well, I thought they were already there because
They are. They still keep coming. I'm gonna wait till a little bit
They're
over.
coming in droves.
They're coming in droves, and then once they're here, then there should be less traffic there. So I'll just come on back.
oh, okay.
That sounds like a plan.
That's my plan. That's my plan. I'm sticking to it.
I have nothing. Okay. So we brought
Oh, man.
Melanie by to the beach house today, guys, to talk to you about finances.
We're talking money.
Don't get scared.
We're
Come back,
talking money, honey.
money, honey, and how to make your money grow for you while you sleep,
Yes, we like that.
and giving you some tips. Listen, some tips that the rich have that now the middle class are getting. What are they? We're introducing my cousin Melanie here, who's going to give us some good information. And she started a business doing this, guys, and she is quite knowledgeable on this situation. And I coached this lady. I'm so excited. So I'm going to give you the floor. Just do your thing. Roll it out, Steph. Roll it out.
Thank
There
you
you go.
so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am Melani Breland. I hail from Pasadena, California. With 3 kids, 4 grandkids, and I've been working with affluent families for 30 plus years. And I've
Wow.
picked up some tricks that I'm really blessed to share with other people now. So the cornerstone of wealth can be funded with life insurance. Most people think that they have to have a lot to pass on, but if you don't, you can take a modest amount, invest in an insurance policy, and what that allows you to do is have benefits while you're living and then pass them on to your loved ones. Um, Most people don't realize that you don't have to have a lot of money to create a trust. So, what a trust is, it's basically just a document that says, here's what I have, and here's who I want it to go to. And
Mm,
the protection in having a trust that should be, witnessed and notarized, but the protection of having a trust is that it's private. It gives you control from the grave to
ooh,
make sure that who gets your assets, they follow what you want. Like, when do they get it? How much do they get? When does the trust terminate? If you don't have a trust, it's going to be public information. It's going
mm.
to you'll have to have a probate, which is really costly. So there's just a benefit to having a trust that ensures privacy and control. And
Yeah, because a
mhm.
will versus a trust, wills go through probate, correct? A
Mhm.
trust
Well,
would not.
you can have a will, but most of the times a will can be used. So say you forget to leave something in the trust, it just pours over into that trust.
Mm-hmm.
But in California, for example, if you have anything over, $180,000, it's going to be subject to probate. So if
Right.
you're a homeowner or you have, 401k or you have other assets, that's going to go through the court and it's costly. It takes a long time and your business is basically out on Jump Street. So most people don't know that they could have a trust. It could be handwritten, but the more assets you have, I suggest you see an attorney and just have them draft it for you. They also have do-it-yourself kits at, most like office supply stores. And so as long as you have somebody else witness it and notarize it, it's valid. It's a valid trust. And so,
Very nice.
Now I
yeah,
want to go back to the very, very beginning
okay.
because it's great to have a will, it's great to have a trust, but you have to have something to have that. And so when people are starting out, the first thing most young people or most single women we find, they feel like I'm working, I'm every dime I have is going to live off of. I don't have any money. How do I save money?
Mm.
Right.
how do I
Well,
how do I grow money if I don't have any money? Because we have this thought that you have to put hundreds of dollars away per month to be able to build any kind of financial security. Excuse me. And that's just not true. I mean, I bought into that lie when I was coming around and I thought, I don't have hundreds of dollars. Every dime that we have is stretched. We are budgeted down to the penny. So how in the world are we supposed to save money? So what would you say to that person? How can they get started?
I would say, like the golden rule, pay yourself first,
Yep.
no matter
Hmm.
how small. Take 10% for tithing, hopefully, but 10% pay yourself first, even if it's $25 that you're putting away. You'd be surprised how that will compound. And with compounded interest, it's interest earning interest over time and years, you're going to see that grow. So if you say, "Hey, I can only afford $25, $50." They have vehicles like annuities or life insurance. So one of those two, because they have insurance that you can borrow against as well. So that could become a retirement vehicle if you don't have, like a big 401k or something like that. So it's really just cutting back on certain things to make sure you have a non-negotiable amount that you're saving every time you get paid. Just pay yourself first and make sure you set that aside. And
And
it's
talk to the young people because they're thinking, okay, say I have $25. I put my $25 a month away. Well, by the end of the year, that's still not a whole lot of money. So explain compound interest because you're not putting away $25 a month. Though you're getting more and more each month. So
right.
explain how that compound interest works
Sure.
to new people who may not understand that.
Okay. So usually say you have a savings account. You're not going to get very much interest at all. It's pretty flat. But when you put something in a vehicle that has compounded interest, take that, say $50, and you're earning 6% a year, that money is growing and the interest is compounding over a long period of time. So that's basically growing your money. Your money is doubling. So there's a rule of 72 that says however much interest you're earning, divide that and that's going to tell you how long it takes to double your money. So there's some key concepts, and there's all types of like investing for dummies. That's not really a good way to explain it, but just for
Right,
the
right.
It
person,
breaks it down.
yeah, I mean, I
Right.
think that people need to know that
That it's not just
we were
25 or
young too.
$50.
What they need to know is we were young too, and we
Yeah.
didn't think about these types of things. Then you live a life and you're like, hey, I'm getting closer to retirement. You need to think about retirement and not outliving your money. It really becomes important. So if you start, the younger you start, the better off you're going to be, because we don't know if we can rely on Social Security or any measure of supplemental anything in this current time. So I would just encourage young people, the money that you're spending, like to go out to a club or buy a new outfit or getting coffee every day, maybe cut back on coffee and get it twice a day. You'd be surprised. There's your $50,
Yeah.
$25.
And I'm not for, you have some financial advisors that say, don't spend anything, put everything away and live like you have nothing. And, after a while, that that
Yeah.
that breaks down your psyche. So
Yeah.
we're not saying don't ever do anything for yourself. We're saying do do something for yourself, and then you'll be able to do things for yourself. You don't have to, never eat out, but you don't have to eat out every day.
Right.
Right. One of the first things
You
I
can get
did
you can get
when,
coffee, but
yeah,
not every day.
every day. No,
Get coffee 3 times a week,
right.
not seven.
Right. Well, it's awesome with bringing you on here, because that was my business before I got divorced, was financial stuff. The same business you're in. And the first thing I did when I got a divorce and I started working was got a vehicle as far as financial. And because I knew I needed something for retirement that was going to pay me out. Can you explain that part of the annuity? That's what I had. That
Hmm.
you can pay. And I didn't have a lot of money, guys. I was like, let's see, I started at $17. No, 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 no. I started at APO. I was making $13.50, but I made sure, like you said, to pay myself, right? So it was $25 that went into my annuity. And now you have it where you were saying earlier, I don't know if you touched on this, that you don't have to do the medical part. Well, then when I got mine, the guy came to the house, took my blood and all that. And I was in my 30s, right? Perfect, because that's what they went off of. They went off your medical, your heart and everything. They're checking all of that. So that was at perfect rate. And so then when I got my annuity or whatever, they were like, "This is great. You're at the top. You're perfect, and you never have to do this again." But to hear that now, if I wanted to get more, I don't have to do a medical, have him come take blood and, oh, you're older now and whatever. And
You're
this is,
on your deathbed,
you're
so
on the
money for
deathbed. And
you.
and that is amazing to hear that, because somebody that's either young or older and they're thinking, it's too late. It's too
Right.
late. It's like,
Right.
no, it's not. Like, because you don't have to do the medical part for what you're talking about. You can start now.
You know what
It's never
I
too
tell
late.
people? You get insurance if you rent somewhere, right? A property.
Mm-hmm.
You get insurance if you rent a car. You get insurance on your cell phone. There's all these things that we insure, but what we don't insure is our
Is
money.
our life.
And insurance, right? Hence life insurance. It's money that you can access, you can borrow against it, you can use it for your children and grandchildren, like, small amounts. And that's what people need to know is like you can invest in an annuity or life insurance. Either one has components that will grow that you can access. And with annuities, for example, now they even have some that have lifetime guaranteed lifetime income. But times have changed. Now with insurance, people want things pretty quick. They don't want to like go through like a
Mm.
medical exam and then get turned down. Well, there are companies now that basically you have no medical. They just base it on certain criteria. You get an answer, you pick how much you can afford, and you have coverage.
I think literally when my husband and I got our policies, we were in our late 20s, and I think it was like $21 each.
Right. The younger you are,
Wow.
the less expensive.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah. So
That's why mine was $25.
Yeah,
right.
is
And that
$21.
21.
growth
Wow.
principle, like you said, you started young. But people need to know too, doesn't matter how old you are. Like they say, it doesn't matter where you've been, is where you're at. So you
Yeah.
just basically start where you are to get some information and figure out a plan for your future because time goes pretty quick, as we can say now, you
Yeah.
know, compared to when you're young and you think you're going to live forever.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, we had the a 30-year policy for us. And for us, we were thinking, yeah, we're in our 20s. What's the big deal? Da, 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 da. And when my husband passed away, that policy was there. Now, like 5 years later after that, that 30-year term was up. And so what did I do? I got myself another one for me
For
again.
you.
It's like that policy was up, so let me get another one so I can take care of, any expenses that I have for my kids and also leave them something. But I saw firsthand
Mm.
that that money came in handy. It came in very
Right.
handy because
Income,
I wouldn't have known what I was gonna do. I would have had so much stress on me, but I was able to pay my home off and take that stress off of me so I could actually grieve and figure out what my next move was gonna be because that was in place.
And that
Exactly.
was the first thing you took care of, right? The house.
That was the first thing I did was pay my house off.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I wouldn't have that pressure on me.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's touch on that. So people get insurance at different stages in life, right? Insurance can be used to cover debt so that you're not leaving debt to someone. And I'd say this, I have a couple of kids, they're single parents. I made sure that they have life insurance. I made sure that they have a trust, and the trust is the beneficiary of that life insurance. So it stays in something that has some control. And if
Hmm.
anything happens to them, their kids will have something for college. It could be, down payment on a house. It could be a number of things
Right.
depending on how old they are if God forbid something happens. So I just feel like if you look at your planning, insurance can be a part of your overall assets. And some people just feel like, well, I don't have any. Well, guess what? For like as little as $7 a day,
Yeah.
you can get a policy, however big or small, and just have some peace of mind that it's going to cover things and that you're able to leave a legacy to your kids or your grandkids. And I feel it's really important for the African American community and really all people, but us
Everybody.
specifically because we're used to seeing people doing GoFundMe's for funerals and there's
Mm.
insurance that covers final expense like so really insurance is your friend. It's very inexpensive, but it can cover a multitude of different needs that you have.
I was just about to touch on that. You
Yep.
see people, I
Mm.
don't even know how many people that I've seen that had a loved one pass and they're doing a GoFundMe. And my first thought is, you didn't have anything set up? Nothing?
Nothing.
That here you are in the worst time of your life and we're having to solicit money from people to help us out just to bury somebody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
think the stress. You're already grieving.
And then you got to go through all of that.
that's why, we won't mention James Brown and how long it took to bury him. All kidding aside,
Yeah.
sometimes you see a person
It's real.
died in X month and it's 2 or 3 months later. Well, the reality of that is maybe they just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Or they
It's
had to
real.
cremate the person and the person didn't want to be cremated, but that's all they could afford. So there's an insurance for everything and it
There
doesn't cost much. And so I'm just a big proponent for sharing the information because I see people that have things handed to them and they're living with the silver spoon, and that's just not the reality for me or the average person.
Most people.
So my
Uh-huh.
passion at this stage in my life is that I want to empower people to dream again and know that, it doesn't matter how little you make, you can carve out a little bit from that. And you'd be surprised if you really wrote down all your expenses. And I'm guilty of this too. You go to Starbucks, it's $10 a pop, like so if I cut back, that would be $70 a week that I could put into something,
Literally
some
just 2 days that you didn't go to Starbucks. That's $20 right there.
right.
2 days not going.
Yeah.
McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever. If we wrote down everything we spend, you're
Mhm.
gonna find something and say, hey, I can forgo this because this is something that's going to benefit me later in life. Like it may not benefit me right now, but it might. If you have an injury or an illness or something,
You know,
insurance can benefit you and pay you while you're recovering. So
There's
yeah.
another thing I was looking at when you sent us like your little bio or whatever. And when I was in business back then, they didn't have this yet. And it's the long-term care.
Oh yeah.
that's important.
Wow. Can we touch on that? What are the
Let's
aspects
touch
of
on
that?
that. I have a real example to share. So
Share it. Yes.
most people, there's certain cultures where the elderly live with the family, you know,
Mm-hmm.
their whole life, and they're not put in a nursing home or anything like that. But there could come a time where you get older and you don't have the money to pay for, convalescent home or nursing care. That expense is going to fall on your family. Similar to that example of the GoFundMe, that money is going to have to come from
Yeah,
a
come from
group of
somewhere.
Where?
people. Exactly. So they do have long-term care insurance where you basically pay a certain amount and it gives you coverage. So if you ever had to go into a nursing home, even if you outlive the coverage, you still have it. It's kind of like a guaranteed, lifetime income, except it's
That's
just
amazing.
guaranteed to protect you. And the example is that my mother-in-law, she was falling and she needed to have, different assistance, but she didn't necessarily get along with my other sister-in-law. So that was creating a strain on the marriage. It was creating a strain financially. They were having to pay for someone to come, into the home, which was like super expensive. And
Oh
so,
my goodness.
fortunately, they found a good assisted living that, she has her independence to a degree and but I just mean that to say long-term care insurance is another thing we don't think about. And then it's catching up to you and you don't want something to be so expensive that you don't have the money to pay for it. So that's another insurance that you could look into. And the younger you are, the less expensive it is.
Yes.
So it's kind of like paying for your future, like looking ahead. What do you want, to happen, 30 years from now? It's never too late. Tomorrow isn't promised. So I say, just put a roadmap together and make it fit, like get in where you fit in.
Now, can the
Mhm.
long-term care meaning, do they have to go to a facility or can it be that you have somebody
Could
take
be at
care
home.
at
Sure.
home?
Yeah,
and they that can be used for that.
exactly. Like
Oh,
say
okay.
you might have a stroke that takes time to recover from. That would cover the cost of someone coming in your house and taking care of you. And it just continues on. Like it's not a one-time deal. You have a certain, amount of money to
Mhm.
cover you whenever you need it.
That's amazing.
I
Mhm.
like that. Now,
That's
can you touch on the tax-free retirement?
I can. Let's touch on that.
That's
So, unbeknownst to most people that have a 401k, they don't realize that in addition to all the fees and expenses, you just subtract half of that. Whatever you have in your 401k, cut it in half.
oh my
And
goodness.
hmm
yes, half of it is going to be taxed as income. So when you take a withdrawal from that, it's going to be taxed. So what I tell people is look into there's certain insurances that's part insurance and it's part savings.
Mhm.
You basically take your 401k and you can roll that over into an annuity, or if you're young, instead of the money that you contribute to a 401k, you could put that into an indexed universal life policy, and that has compounded interest. And usually the rate can be anywhere from like 8 to 12% or
That's good.
more.
Mhm.
And so that grows at an accelerated rate. And get this, if you borrow from it,
It's your money.
it's right. You're borrowing from your money and it's still growing at the original rate. So it doesn't go down and you can pay it back or not.
Or not.
If
Yeah.
you don't, it just comes off of the death benefit. But when you're living, they have different riders now, like for fertility, for Alzheimer's, uh,
Wow.
chronic illness. So that's what I say about like basically protecting your money. If you were to get sick or injured and you don't have that income coming in, what happens? But if you have a policy where, hey, I'm incapacitated right now, they're going to send you a specific amount in a lump sum that you can use, while you recover or, while you're ill so that you're taking stress off. So I think people fear money and thinking about it, but if you don't think about it, the stress of not thinking about it is really going to be something
Catastrophic.
that's on
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah.
That's a big fear of people.
Yeah.
And I think if we can just get used to getting familiar with money,
Mhm.
everybody should be checking their bank account and statements
Every day.
daily just to see where your money's going. Don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Right.
Like the scale, for example. We don't want to step on it. We really don't
Mhm.
want to see that number. We really don't. But you
Whether
have
you
to.
have it or
You
whether
have
you're in
to,
the
or the
negative,
doctor's
you
going
need
to
to
tell you.
know.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to tell you. So it's kind of like a financial analysis of just not being afraid of money, like,
Yeah.
because
And that's a mindset.
yeah, what you resist persists, and
Hmm.
you just have to change your mindset about it and make money your friend, just create a
Right.
budget for yourself.
Mhm. And
Tithe,
usually
tithe,
those money habits came from our families growing up, how you experienced your parents dealing with money coming up, if it was a stressful thing for them,
stress.
if there was
Mhm,
arguing going on around it. So you
mhm.
gathered that same money mindset. So what are some of the things that people might be able to do to change that mindset and get a friendship with their money and
I'd
start
say,
seeing it differently?
number one, like check your bank balance every day. Really try to create a budget. Like, how much do I have coming in and how much do I have going out? That's really going to tell you where you have to cut back. Because if you really look at
Right.
what you spend, and
Mhm.
I'm guilty of door dashing and, all that. But if you really look at it, it's like, wow, that could have been, you know, a lot that was set aside. And I just feel
Yeah.
like with the psychology of money, you're right. Like sometimes we eat or we shop. Like there's certain things that people do
Mm-hmm.
to alleviate other types of stress. But really, what I've learned is when you do that, you usually have buyer's remorse as
Yeah.
opposed to I've budgeted a certain amount to take this vacation or go shopping or treat myself to something. So you don't have to have lack. We want an abundance mentality because, you know, that's what God wants for us to have an abundant mentality, not to be religious. I'll try to be agnostic, but I
Oh
just
no, you're bring it.
okay. I truly believe that, like give
Yeah.
you 10% of your first fruits and then 10% that you pay to yourself and divvy it up however you must. Something's better than nothing. So I just
Mhm.
I just encourage everyone to be, give yourself some grace
If you
for
have to start with 5%, 3%, whatever, but
anything.
start.
Yeah.
Right,
Just
right.
forgive yourself. We've all blown money and you're never going to get that back, but you can do something to compound it and grow it in the future. So
Yeah.
that you have something to leave because I feel like, as we get our age, it's not about us anymore. It's about
About the
our
legacy.
kids and our grandkids that if something happened to us tomorrow, they're going to be okay. So.
One of the things that I did and I taught my kids this too. And I think a lot of people, I don't even know if they know but when you have a checking account, you can have them take a certain amount out of your, just your checking account and put into a savings.
So you
You don't
never
see
lose
it,
it.
you don't feel it, nothing, and it just automatically goes in there. I started doing that a long time ago, and I taught my kids to do that. But one of the big things that I really like instilled in them and also carried into my adulthood was that, which thank God for technology, but I created an actual spreadsheet of my bills. And what I did at the top was put the first paycheck, because normally like people get paid twice a month.
Mhm.
I put the first paycheck, second paycheck. Okay, these bills will come out of the first paycheck. These will
Mhm.
come out of the second paycheck. And then I put months across the top part of it. So,
Mhm.
and every time I pay a bill, I put the amount in there. And I'm so glad I had started doing that because I mean, I have sheets going back years, but I also have something to look back at. I see my spending pattern,
Mhm.
and I see my saving pattern.
Mhm.
So I'm not, like Steph said, that fear of money. I'm watching how I spend my money. I even have stuff for like Christmas and like when you do your license and registration. Just,
Right.
even though you don't pay your license and registration every month, putting those zeros in there. I
Right.
know it sounds crazy, but put it and then put the amount in like month February or whatever. I have it down to where I know exactly the month is going to come out. I have it written in there, pay this
Yeah.
already. And so you can, if a good way to start that out is to just like do an Excel sheet for yourself.
And
Yes.
that takes away the fear of it because
It
you know
does.
where everything is. Because in
Yes.
today's land of money, we don't deal in cash anymore. You know,
Right. Right.
I know Dave Ramsey was one of the ones that said, get your money envelope because you have a different psychology when you see the money leaving. You don't
Yeah.
with a card.
Right.
You just
Right.
swipe it.
Right.
You just swiping. You don't know what you got. You just, hey, what's happening?
Hey.
But
You
it is
don't know.
a lot different than seeing all those ATM receipts
Yeah.
in there. When you have more of
Nobody even
those
looks
than
at
you have
those.
cash. Right.
But
Exactly.
you see
The
those
cash
dollars
in the
leaving out
envelope,
your
like,
hand. You're like,
oh,
oh, dang, my
yeah.
envelope is empty.
Right.
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 Right. Yeah. And I have my Excel. You can have it on your computer. And then I have it where I made it that it can go on my phone. So and every time I check my account, I do. I have my all my banks on there. I check every account every day. I'm like, I want to be in that habit of, okay, it
Yes.
may be a little bit of money, but one day,
I want to know where it is.
I want to know where it's at.
That's very
And
smart.
one day it's going to be bigger. You know what I mean? And I want to be in that habit of knowing that my money is working harder for me than I'm
Right.
working when I'm sleeping.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
there's software for that too. I mean, like, again, Dave Ramsey has Money Matters, or, where it's a software that you put all of your information in and it'll connect to your bank and actually track it for you and
mm-hmm.
put it into categories. I mean, so
I
you
have
can
two
write
kids
it
that do
out
that one.
yourself, or there's software to do it for you, but there's something about knowing where your money is. I mean, my son and I, we had this thing one time with our business card. We were like, dang, where's the money at? Where's the money at?
Hey,
And then we went through and looked. We were literally spending hundreds of dollars on fast food because he would roll through a drive-through, shroop, roll through a drive-through, shroop. And I'm like, what, $500 on food? No, no,
no.
Yes.
And
no.
that's not even groceries, right? That's
This
Yes.
is this is McDonald's every day. And I said, Noah, look at what you're spending on food. And he's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea because he didn't.
wow.
I looked, he didn't look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to see where you are spending your money, and then you can begin to manage it and control it.
Yeah.
You have no clue, and that's what people who are afraid do. They don't look. I,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. I don't. And I
Exactly.
know I don't want to see it.
Exactly.
You have
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
see it.
Hmm. You
And
do.
even if it's little, right, Steph? If it's just little, like you're just
You
putting like your little bills,
fix it.
like
Yeah.
my electric, my
Big
car
bill,
payment,
water bill,
phone payment. If it's just four
whatever.
things,
If there's only
make
five things on there,
yeah,
you
just do
know
it.
where your money is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. For
Just
sure.
It's just a wake up call, and I'm just happy that you guys invited me to talk about it, and just touching on the estate plan. It's break things up into little bite-sized chunks and tackle
Yes.
one thing at
And
a
the
time,
savings.
so you don't get overwhelmed. Is like start with your budget and your finances, and then move on to, hey, if anything happened to me tomorrow, do I have a medical directive which
Right.
tells someone what to do or what your wishes are? Do I?
Thankfully, I had that done once my husband passed. My church was doing a seminar on that, and I went to it, and I set up my trust through that. And I was so grateful because I didn't know.
Yeah, it gives
Yeah.
you peace of mind to know that
Yeah. To know that
you know,
everything is set up in writing,
yes,
does what, goes where, what is in
right,
what, it's all written out.
right. And touching on that, a letter of wishes. A lot of times what I see is people fighting over things that really aren't important.
Don't matter.
Right. No matter how much money.
Mama said she wanted me to have a competition.
Right, right. But that letter of wishes, you could list out, who gets what.
Jewelry,
Yeah, jewelry,
furniture,
yeah, mementos, things
Wow.
like
my
that.
daddy's records. No,
Yeah, it's
That
kind
is
of hard to
whatever.
argue with that. Right.
Whatever. It's like, here it is in writing. Mama wanted you to
Right.
have this.
Exactly. Right, right. So,
Wow.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool because, I see it in my kids too, that they're doing their stuff. My son has a Fidelity account that, every month his money goes into a Roth IRA for him. My daughter has this thing that she has that it's got little compartments, and every day you're putting in so much money. And you start
Wow.
off with like $1, it goes up to $5, it goes up to $10. By the time she finishes this little packet, it'll have $5,000 in it that she can roll into an account. And
That's cool.
there's all kinds of things out there that you just have to, be
Yeah.
creative and look for them. But there's all kinds of ways to save your money, invest your money. I mean, even, if you just even want to go down to the lowest forms, they have those Robin Hoods and stuff like that where, you can just get started doing something like that. But call Fidelity, call Schwab, call the bank.
Yeah. And it comes out of your check and goes right into that account.
Right? Rolls right
And
into your Roth IRA,
you
and
don't
you
have to
don't even
access
think
to it.
about it.
It's not as easy to access. So what, like if you don't see it, you know that that's
Yeah,
already gone.
just
Mhm.
comes out. Yeah. And one of the things I used to do, and this is going to the littlers, the little ones, the kidlings. One of the things that was one of the things I used to do with the kids, I would get an envelope and we would write savings on it.
Mhm.
And each kid had an envelope. And so when this is a really good thing to teach these kids how like interest works and like taxes and stuff like that. So when they wanted something, we didn't go out and just go get it. We
Mm-mm.
would go and we would, because that's when they had Toys R Us. We don't got that.
Yeah.
But you go to Toys R Us and you go and you see what you want, price it out. Okay, it's this amount. All right, now how much is it when we add tax? Okay, so now this is what you want. Then this is what you're gonna save for. Okay, so then they start, their birthday money or their little chore money or whatever. So they're putting this in the little envelope. So by the time they buy their toy or whatever it is, they understand that, okay, yeah, it says $5, but now there's
Not
taxes.
really $5.
It's not really $5, right? And they're learning the value of their money
Yep.
and the decision of, do
Do I
I
really want
really want
this?
this?
Uh-huh.
It's different when it's right when they're spending their
Your
When
own
it's their
money.
money.
money versus your money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I started that young with them. And that's a good
But
trick
it's
or
that
tip to teach
education.
them. Yeah. Start live with the little ones. 2 years
Mhm.
old, 3 years old.
They can understand that.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
financial, we all need a financial tune-up. Just talking with you today, it's like I like the idea of the spreadsheet. I think I had a cousin that did that too, and he factored in how much every month he needed to save to, for Christmas or someone's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
DMV,
Yeah.
or it was very like structured. So then if you had like mad money or something extra
Go over there.
unexpected, then you know what to do with that.
And
But
that goes back to what we were talking about. You don't have to deny yourself everything while you're putting your categories of savings and things in. Put yourself a category for me. Okay, I put $20 in this one every month.
See that? I didn't have that.
Decide
I
what
didn't do the
you
me
want.
one.
Yeah, you got to have one for
I still
you.
don't have that. I need to do
That
that.
way, it's like, hey, when I want to feel like I want to have a little shop day or go get something nice for myself, I can reach into this account and I have it.
yes,
Ah, I
yeah.
like that.
And
So
it's not
the
gonna, throw me off in my bills because this is the money I set aside for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
my kids do that too.
good
I need to
habits you
do
taught.
that.
It's
Good
important
habits.
because you have to include yourself.
Yeah.
What?
Because you know what? When we feel deprived, we get angry, we get resentful.
Mm.
I don't get to do nothing. I'm working day and
I'm
night,
getting
and
work
I
done.
don't have nothing to show for it. And that's when you start making stupid mistakes because you just get
Mm.
resentful and you're like, well, forget it. I'm getting what I want.
See, I don't even get there. I'm just like, I don't get it. But that
No.
makes so much
Like people
sense,
get
though, right?
resentful and they go out there and just spin because it's like, screw it. I don't care.
That's
Yeah.
investing in you, right?
And then
Okay.
something comes up and you have an emergency and you're like, oh, now what do I do?
Yep.
Well, like they say, start budgeting, but look at things that are free. There's lots of free activities. Somebody
Hmm.
told me about a free concert that they went to in
Yeah.
Vegas.
Wherever you
Never
can
mind the
find them.
heat, but it was free. A really well-known jazz person, and the concert was free.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
So,
that's
You're
my
talking,
statement,
Steph language,
Free is for me. And
but
right.
afraid.
and a concert on that? Hell yeah, I'm in
She's in
it.
it.
There's a lot we can do. And like I say, we all just you have goals and what you want, but it's just kind of like putting pen to paper and tracking your spending. Like they say, if you've never done it before, write down what you spend every day for 30 days. and you'd be amazed to see,
Mhm.
where you could save or what you could cut out and how much that comes
But
up
you
to
can't
your.
do that if you don't know what you
You
spend.
don't
You
know.
have to look at it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 You got to get over that fear of, not wanting to know and see where your money is at.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And spending it on other people or other things, we do that. Like, for example, we do that for our kids. But what I have to tell my kids is I'm getting older and I have less years ahead of me than behind me. And you have to figure it out and, you know, take steps to
For
not
you.
the same mistakes I made at your age where we're just living for today and we're
Hmm.
not thinking about the future. So consequently, I help them set up their own insurance policies that are kind of part insurance, part savings, because that's going to compound and grow. And then in 30 years, that'll be like a supplemental retirement that they'll have
Hmm.
access to. But they don't see it right now. It's just paying a small premium, but it's going to grow. So, yeah.
And that goes into, making investments for yourself to educate yourself and learn. One of the things that my youngest son did, and he's 27 now, but he decided, well, we went to do a seminar with one of our mentors, and one of the speakers that he had there was his financial investor. And so he listened to him, and one day he got up and he said, Mom, I've been praying about this, and I really feel like the Lord is telling me to contact this guy. And I said, really? And I just asked him about that, got curious about it. And he says, I know he's a lot of money, but I just want to talk to him and tell him what my plans are, what I want to do, and see if he'll work with me. And just ask him. And
Mm.
so he called him up, and they talked, and he told him his story and what his plans were. And the guy said, yeah, I'll work with you, and I'll charge you this. I'm not going to charge you my regular rate, but I am going to charge you because you need to
Invest.
understand how important your life is. And so it was over his stretching range, but it wasn't what he normally charges.
Mhm.
But everybody told him around him, that's too much. You don't want to pay for that. Ah, that's too much. You're spending too much money. And he said, no, he's teaching me how to invest. He's teaching me about stocks. He's teaching me about savings. He's teaching me about retirements and all these things because, he has this desire that I want to be wealthy. And he said, I need to be around people who can teach me how to do that.
Exactly.
And this guy has done it. And
Mhm.
he's helped my mentor do it. And he's helped all these other people do it. So I want to know what he knows. And he
Mhm.
was willing to pay for it. And now he's got all kinds of stocks and stuff. And
Wow.
his portfolio is
7. You
growing.
said he's 27?
27. And his
Man.
portfolio is growing. And I'm like, look at you go,
All
boy.
right. All
Going. He's doing
right.
But
He's doing it.
for him to step out and say, okay, I'm gonna take a significant amount of my check. And yeah, sure enough, he was able to do that because he still was living here. But I encouraged him. I'm like, if that's where you want to spend your money at and investing in yourself, I'm
Yeah.
behind you. And so he did that. And
Love it.
despite what other people told him that that's too much money, you're wasting your money. He's like, no, I want to stay with this
Yeah.
guy.
When he's
Yeah.
ready to retire, he'll be set,
He's going to be set because he's got a goal that, okay, by the time I hit 30, I want to be close to being a millionaire.
Mhm.
And he's like, this is what I need to do to go after it. But it's all about setting a plan and
Right.
just finding the right people too that can help you accomplish your plan. Because not everybody can take you where you want to go.
No.
So you have to get around people who are doing what you want to do and then ask them, how you do it? Can you tell
Yeah.
me? Will you show me?
Will you share it with me? Yeah.
YouTube,
Get off the
right?
pride
YouTube, you
and
can
say,
find
hey,
anything
yeah,
on
you're
YouTube.
living the
Like,
life that I want to live. So can you show me how to do that?
mhm.
Mhm.
It's so cool. It's so just so key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask. And what does the Bible say? Ask and it shall be given.
Okay.
Knock and the door will be open. Seek and you're going to find it, but you got to go out and look for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just say, take your head out of the sand, look around, right? You're blessed to be alive. As long as you have life and breath, you have hope.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself hope for your future by just looking at ways, things you can tweak to just make it a little brighter. So,
Don't just stay in the dark.
no.
Yeah.
Ask
No.
questions.
Mhm.
Get around some people who are doing what you want to do and ask them, how did you do it?
Exactly. And most people that are older or that have generated a lot of money is they do without maybe the fanciest car or
Hmm.
things that are depreciating or things that they don't need. They live on less. It doesn't mean that you have to go without, but do you really need that brand new car
Have
that
to have the top of
or
the
could you
Right.
buy one used, and just
line.
little things you can
No
do.
matter what the car is, I mean, it could still get hit.
Right.
Well, that's a good thing to touch on too, because a lot of people will, oh, I'm investing in a car, but what you're not realizing is once it
That's a
drives off the lot, it's
liability.
lost value.
Yeah. Car
It
is not
doesn't
an asset.
gain, it's not an asset, right?
Right.
Or you're like, there's things that people buy that you're like, you have the money, you're just putting it in the wrong vehicle.
Right.
It's not,
Yes.
that vehicle's not going to give you any kind of growth. Put it over here where it will grow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what we need to be thinking about. I can spend my money, but can I spend it on something that's going to come back to me?
Right.
Right. Right. Residual income.
Residual income.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's good.
Multiple streams of income
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that pay you money, not,
Right.
you
Take
know,
your money.
don't take the money. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a big thing that you have to look into as far as, now, because jobs they aren't loyal to you, for one. And like a big thing with this that I'm seeing is that a lot of people are losing their jobs and a lot of people are being laid off and a lot of people's jobs are being eliminated, right? But they're in these jobs and they have 401ks. Knowing now that you can actually move that 401k that you had with that company or job into something like this, that's a vehicle that will build your wealth. And
Exactly.
that's
Mhm.
That's
phenomenal.
where like tax-free retirement comes in because life insurance can't be taxed. So
Right.
just knowing the right vehicle, it's not like a one size fits all. Some things will make more sense to you at a certain age as you're building than when you're ready to retire. But for anyone that's retiring, I would just encourage them to look into something that's tax free because if they leave it in the 401k, it's subject to like market fluctuation
Mhm.
and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have enough time to recoup what you lose. So, you're kind of
Right.
kind of it's a gamble. So if you research it and I'm happy to share my contact information and you know communicate and answer questions and just get the word.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially like if, like I said, like with these all these job eliminations, it's like you're leaving your money over here, and like you said, it's depreciating, or like you said, you can't control what's hitting it or whatever. And to know the security that you can move that somewhere else and it's safe
Right.
and it's growing, you know.
And here's something I hear a lot. Well, I have insurance at work. Well, guess what? If you
Mm.
leave that job,
It's only good as long as you're working
you
there.
don't
Yeah,
have it.
because they aren't matching anymore. They aren't putting anything in
And that
anymore.
insurance is usually accidental death and dismemberment.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not really something that you can
It's not
borrow
going to help you if you
based
get
on like
cancer
the
or have a
ultimate
heart attack.
worst outcome, right? It's based on the worst. And if you leave, you don't have insurance. So just getting something in place, even if you start with like term, which is just for a certain period of time. They have some that can convert to whole life, like that covers you your whole life. So just finding the right thing and knowing you have that protection is the best.
So
So I,
they can contact you on that, right? To like ask questions and maybe even get a presentation on like where you could sit down with them or Zoom or something where they can like lay out, we have 5 kids and we want them to go to
sure.
college and what's the best vehicle. Because a lot of times people will put their if they have kids and they want them to go to college, they'll put it in a college fund. It's like they don't realize if they don't go to a university, that money is gone. I
Exactly.
might have a kid that wants to go to culinary school. It's like, but that won't transfer
Right.
over to
It's
the
not going to
culinary
cut
school.
it.
Sorry. But a lot of people don't know those things.
Right.
So,
You can use it for any kind of school, but nope.
right. Nope. Nope. And so, is there a way?
For that. There's an insurance for that. Like
Oh,
they call it the $1 million baby. If someone starts when they
really?
have an infant, and a lot of different cultures do this, they have a policy and it grows and keeps growing for that child's lifetime. So they're able to borrow
Ooh, I love that.
for their different events, life
Wow.
events, first car, first house, wedding. We've seen examples where it can carry on for that child's children. So that's where legacy comes in and just using that insurance as a vehicle to do that. And most people, they don't know anything about that. So when you said tricks of the wealthy, it's always
Mhm.
been there for us, but we may not have a financial advisor. And so, what do they say? People perish due to lack of knowledge. Well,
Knowledge.
guess what? We're in a spending mode, and a lot of it is because we haven't been exposed to certain things. So
And
that's
most companies won't go to the middle class.
no,
So your business goes to the middle class and teaches those financial
Lower class. I mean,
and
even
lower. Yeah,
even
yeah,
get out of
yes, for
middle class,
sure.
even the
this
lower
is the
class.
everyman information. Every person, they say, inspiring people to dream again and just take a look and say, hey, I have $25. I have X amount of coverage. If something happens to me, my family is gonna be okay. Versus if one person's income is gone, what happens to your family? God
Yeah.
forbid both of you are gone, what would happen to your family? So, and then we have a lot of single moms, or single dads. So it's on them to make sure that if something happens to them,
Mm,
their kids have something in place.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, thank you for coming on
So
today.
awesome.
Thank
This
you.
is, you are awesome.
Thank you. I know we touched on a lot, but again, I'm
Information, boy.
available.
Information is key.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
both for including this on your episode. I really appreciate it.
Well, we'll
We're
have
so
you on
thankful to
again.
have you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have you on again.
Okay.
And
Sounds
we'll put all
good.
your information on there so people can reach
Yes.
out to you and get some questions asked and answered and
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Do I
set
sign off
up.
now? Do I sign off now?
No.
You can, I mean, you can if you want, but
Oh no.
We just
we are
want
going
to
to
thank
even
you
have
for
drinks.
joining us.
No.
No, I'm just a guest. I don't want to overstay my
No,
welcome.
you're right. No, that cannot happen.
No, absolutely, absolutely. We loved having you, and we
Yes.
got to have you back.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, everybody.
Yes.
It's meeting Melanie, taking her time out of her
Yeah.
beautiful Sunday to share this very important information that will literally save our
Very
life.
important information because
Very
y'all, we
important.
need it. We need to know.
We need to know. We need to know. And so thank you for joining us at the beach house.
Yeah.
And we will see
Don't
you again.
forget to
Oh,
share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't
yes.
forget to share this episode with somebody that you know needs this information.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And
We'll
we will
see you
see
again.
you again next time.
Beach house.